Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I almost missed the click there to get off of that crazy intro. Dwayne, welcome. Beverly, welcome. Glad you guys are here. And thank you for joining me as I'm going to be painting my cat Penny, or my former cat Penny. Unfortunately, Penny is not with us anymore. But I thought I'm kind of doing a hair or feather or pet themed week. I don't know exactly what I said it was going to be, but that's kind of how we're going with everything. So Penny has been one of my favorite pets that I've had. She's fantastic. I'm happy to tell stories about Penny as we move along this evening. Let me make her a little bit bigger so everybody can see Penny there. And to get a few things out of the way this evening, using some Bao Hong professional grade watercolor paper, 140 pound. And this one, it's much rougher. I can just turn it like that, and I think you all can see how rough that surface is. It's not rough paper. It is cold pressed paper, but it is still awfully textured. Dwayne says, cool light and shadow on Penny. Yeah, so that's Penny sitting outside, or sitting just inside the back slider, and the afternoon sun shining in on her. All right, no. It's shining in the back of the house. That's the morning sun shining in on her. And she was fantastic. Like I said, I'll get on to telling Penny stories as we get through this. Once again, I'm going to be using my King Art paintbrushes, and over here on my right hand side are my what do I have? My M. Graham paints. Beverly says, I was just going to say how great the backlight is. Yeah, it's great. She's got this fantastic shadow that casts right down her body here, and then off her back haunches over here. Yeah, this is one of my favorite pictures ever. We have a million pictures. I should have shown some of the other ones. She also used to fall asleep in these crazy funny positions, and like she'd be on the cat tree and her arms would just be out in front of her like this, hanging straight down, and she'd fall asleep, or she'd have one arm out over her head and fall asleep. Just a funny cat. I'm going to get started with, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to pre-wet her, And then I'm going to get just a very light layer of black on there. And then I'm going to try to tint it a little bit with probably some burnt umber. Burnt umber, and maybe some blue in some different areas. And it looks like maybe even there's a little bit of red to that. So maybe some of that maroon perylene needs to be on her too. So I'm going to get started with this. And while I get started, I'm just going to start with Penny stories. So Penny came to me as a COVID cat, as we were all asked to stay home for a little while. Probably just like many areas in the country, the shelters here asked if anybody's able to take a pet, would you please come in and claim a pet and take it home with you. We would love for the pets to, continue to be socialized and have someone to bond with during that period in time. And my wife went to the town just north of us and to their shelter and found Penny and brought Penny home. And I was like, oh, why would you do that? You brought a cat here. We have 2 cats at the time. I'm not sure this is the right move for us. All right, so we had 2 cats. We had 4 chickens, 2 kids, the 2 of us, right? A really full house. And on top of that, Penny had a few genetic anomalies, let's just say. She had a few problems, and for most of the time that she was alive, she had to take some extra medication to help her along. And so I'm like, oh, is this really what we need to do? Well, my wife just fell in love with her right away, which is why she brought her home. And then she said, well, you are the cat whisperer. Cats love you, and this poor cat has been in the shelter her whole life. She's been in the shelter for 9 years. The least we can do is not make her stay there, when nobody's going to be able to come in and see her, and it's going to be horrible. And I relented and said, okay, that's fine. We'll keep her, and we kept her isolated in the back bedroom. And for part of COVID, that's why I kind of hung out. I got to continue to go to work the whole time during that. And so if I were to come home, I would just kind of go straight to the back bedroom, because there's a good chance I would have been infected, and we don't want to infect the rest of the family and whatnot. So Penny got to stay in the back with me for a great amount of the time, at least to start with through the pandemic. And the first thing Penny did was she ran and hid behind the toilet. And I went, uh-oh, this is not a good sign. She's just going and hiding. She doesn't want anything to do with anybody. Right? I had never met her before. I just came home one night and she's home. Great. She's just going to hide. It's going to be one of those things. I'm never going to see her, and that's just going to be that. And then I went, you know what? That's not going to fly with me. I don't want her to just hide everywhere and not be out and seen, and that doesn't seem like much of a life. So I got her out from behind the toilet, which is not a big deal, in as far as that goes. And then I set about covering up every other nook and cranny that she might be able to get to, right? Underneath all the dressers, underneath the bed, underneath everything. Not going to let Penny just hide and do nothing. If she's going to be here, if she's going to be part of our life, she's going to be part of our life. And I don't think she liked that a whole lot. And for the first couple of weeks, she found a way to still get underneath the master bed and hide, and she'd find a way to get under the dresser and find a place where you couldn't find her. And that was fine. I kept opening up every crevice I could to find where she's at and let her come out of there. And then as time went on, she just kind of stopped hiding and started being out more. And I tried very hard to get her to, just kind of sit in my lap. And she wouldn't, and she never became a lap cat. That's okay. That's totally fine. But she would, after a while, after, several months of this back and forth between she and I, she would, like I said, she wouldn't get on my lap or anything, but she'd get right next to me, and she'd just kind of hang out there. She'd come and stay. If I'm sitting on the couch or on the love seat or something like that, she'll come and she'll sit next to me on the shelf. Or if I put a blanket down, not on the shelf, on the back of it. If I put a blanket down, she'll hang out on the blanket, just right next to me, which is totally cool. She didn't want to be a lap cat. That's cool. I've had plenty of cats that kind of didn't really want to be a lap cat. You just kind of let them be, and that's part of who they are. So that was Penny, and as time went on, she'd start sleeping right next to me. And when I say right next to me, I mean like right right here next to me. And we had her for a couple of years, and my wife went, well, the vet has called, or the shelter has called, and we need to make a decision on whether we think we want to keep Penny or whether we want to send her back. And they're okay either way. They know she's kind of a special needs a cat, and it would take some extra care. And if we want to send her back, they'll take her back. And I kind of looked at my wife and I went, I don't think this cat is ever going anywhere. This cat is staying here. By 2 years in, this cat had wormed her way into my life. And I personally don't think that Penny ever had much of any enjoyment in her entire life until she came to live with us. And she was with us for about 4 years before she finally passed. When we got her, she was 9 or 9-ish. We're not exactly how old she was. But by the time we got her, right, she was old, and we kept her going for a long time. But by the time she passed, she would run and play, and she would take balls and throw them up in the air, and she would chase string around. And the shelter would call us, and they're checking up on her. How's Penny doing? We really want to know how Penny's doing. Just doing a like a wellness check or something like that. And we would tell them, well, Penny's doing great. This is what she's up to, and this is what she's doing today. And I promise you that every time we would say something like that, they're like going, Are you sure we're talking about the same cat? I don't think we're talking about the same cat. This is Penny that just kind of lays around, kind of grumpy, kind of doesn't want to do, doesn't want to be social with the other cats or do anything. I'm like, no, that's Penny. Penny is she's just a cat at this point. She is a normal cat, does everything we do. And I was heartbroken when she passed. My wife was heartbroken when she passed. I don't think either of us have had, the two of us together have had many animals. I don't think either of us have had one animal that in such a short amount of time really has affected us the way that Penny did, because she was such an uplifting spirit to us both. Okay, so there's as I put the first layer on, there's my little Penny story. Cat distribution systems at work. Oh, by the way, Kenya, welcome. And Yova, hello. I don't know if it was the fates or God or a God or whatever it was that brought Penny to us, but thank heavens we had Penny in our life for those few years, because she made our life a whole lot better, and I hope that we made her life a bit better. So some of the things that were a little odd about Penny, if you see the picture, let's take a look at the picture. Where is she at? There's Penny. There she is. She had a little stubby tail, right? Her tail, when she was born, her tail was deformed, and they kind of cut it back. So she didn't have a full tail. You can see her eyes are kind of not exactly open all the way. That was part of the thing. She had issues with her eyes, and her nose was always really stubbed in. But to us, it totally didn't matter. She was absolutely fantastic. And yes, she was an interesting looking cat, but she was completely beautiful. And we still talk about her, and we still miss her. And the funny thing is, or a funny thing, is that my wife went out and found I was going to say a stuffed cat, but a plush cat, like a plush toy, like a teddy bear or something, but in the shape of a cat. And it looks remarkably like Penny. And so now we have Penny's plushy namesake in our house, and she's up on the top of the cat tree, and I think she's going to be there for a long, long time. Okay, so a couple of things that I did here, right? Where's my pointer brush? So I don't put a finger in it anywhere. I just kind of took a look at that picture, and I went, where do we have some lighter areas, right? Along the side of her head, kind of under her chin here, on her paws or on her forelegs here, a little bit down here, maybe a little bit on her back. I want to get those colors in there first, and we're going to make sure that those don't really get too covered up. And this layer is going to be the light layer, right? There's going to be some here on her haunches that probably don't get painted over. A little bit on her nose up here, that's kind of going to be the same as it is now. It's going to stay the same. And maybe up here on the top of her head. Those are the lightest areas that I don't really want to do a whole lot with. Maybe just a little bit, but not a whole lot. Okay. Whew. Now, that seems like I did a whole lot of talking in a little bit of time. I hope that everybody has had a good start to their week this week and made it to Wednesday in a good shape. Let's see. I've had a pretty good week this week. Busy, as many of my weeks are, but a good week nonetheless. We've got about a dozen people watching right now. So anybody here who's new, I just want to invite you to say hello and ask some questions. You can ask questions about me. You can ask questions about my art style. You can ask questions about paint, paper, or brushes. You can ask most any question that you want. I like the questions. They help to start the conversation, and sometimes I will just answer them and ramble on for a long, long time, and you've got to tell me kind of let's move on to something else. But I like to talk with you because, number one, it gives me something that I can concentrate on other than the painting. And number two, it helps keep you interested because I'm answering what you want to talk about. So please, if you got a question, throw it out there. Sudike is in the house. Welcome, Sudike. And I'm just waiting for this to dry just a little bit. Now let's see. This picture. I can't point well if I pull that picture up, but let's do this. Here's the picture of Penny, and you can see over her, I guess it would be left shoulder, is a It's a little shed, and then behind that is where my greenhouse used to be. What is now, you can see something that's kind of colored green back there. That's now part of our chicken coop. And so my new chickens, Cha-Cha and Frida, now live right in that area. And I'll give you a Cha-Cha and Frida update. They're doing fantastic. They're getting so big, and they're getting very loud. And then you can see the hair in front of Penny here. I don't know what the deal was, but holy cow, Penny used to shed like anything. I don't know if she grew hair faster than other cats or what, but man, did she shed a ton. Okay, I think I'm just about good to start with the next layer. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own dark. It's going to be a gray, and if we need to darken it up a little bit, maybe we'll add a little bit of black, true black into it. Or do I want to do that? I don't know. I made this little thing. Let me grab this. Let's see. Beverly says, I was hoping to try some metallic watercolors, but don't want to break the bank. Any recommendations? Yes. My recommendation is have somebody else buy them for you. No, the really good metallic watercolors do cost a little bit more because they have mica chips thrown into them, and that mica process costs a little bit more. The cheaper ones don't have mica; they have plastic chips in them, much like glitter, right? That kind of thing thrown in there. They can still work really well, but there's some difference, and maybe the flake in it isn't necessarily the difference. It's the difference in the quality of the actual watercolor, but there is a difference, and I don't use mine enough to really know the difference. To tell you the truth, I don't even know what brand they are. I have some metallic ones, and they were about $80 for 12, which is really expensive. And then I have some that I use on kind of everything else, and they don't have a colored flake in them. They have it's just kind of a silver flake in all of them. And they work okay. If I'm just doing a small area, I just pull those out. Natalie's here. Hello, Natalie. Beverly, I hope that helps a little bit. I don't know if that's going to help a lot. So now that I'm thinking about it, I just did this little swatch. This is just a scrap sheet of paper. I did a little swatch here. This is my black that's on there with some sepia. You can see what color that is. And then a little bit black with some of the burnt umber. And this is kind of beforehand. This is kind of the direction I decided to go. But now what I don't want to do is have a picture of Penny and have it be blue and orangey and, brown and whatnot. I have these weird colors. So maybe I will stay with black on this one and just do some more black. I think we can make this, as long as I don't put in thick layers of black, I think it won't get blotchy. My black seems to get a little blotchy, a little more readily than others. Kenny says, can you maybe add mica chips into paint you already have? I think, Kenya, you probably could if you're using paint out of a tube and you wanted to put it on a flat surface and grind it in to really get those colors mixed in. But I think you would probably have to have the mica chips that were really, really fine. I found some mica chips I was thinking of buying and trying to add to my paint. Yeah, like I said, they make it's kind of a round thing that's slightly convex that you put on and you roll it around. You'll put some paint down and you roll it around, and that's kind of how you mix the medium and the pigment together, and you would do the same thing to get the mica chips in, but the mica chips would have to be super, super fine in order to really get them in really nicely. At least that's how I would think to do it. There probably are, if that's That's how I'm thinking I'm going to do it. That means there's probably a million different ways to do it, but that would just be my first thought. Okay, you've seen those. Yeah, I've seen them. I couldn't tell you where I've seen them at. I know I've seen them around in some craft stores before or something like that. But honestly, I've thought about making my own paint, but I've never pursued it enough to give it that much thought. Okay, trying to get a little black on here. We'll see how it goes. We'll do her paw here first. And Natalie, this is Penny. You remember me talking about Penny many times. This is a picture of Penny. And we were blessed to have Penny live in our house for 4 years or thereabouts. And muddling, it could be called muddling. It could be. And since I'm doing pets in order to do fur and hair and feathers and whatnot, this month I thought doing a painting of Penny would fit right in, and so we're going to see how it goes. So there we go. Just let me add a little extra water onto the top of this, and we'll see what that kind of looks like, or how that dries, what it looks like when it dries. I know she doesn't necessarily have this light spot on the top of her paw here in the reference photo there, but her hand is behind the bottom of that sliding door. So if I don't paint the sliding door, then maybe she's got a little bit more of that light color on there. Let's go with that. And I'm going to give her a little bit of color under here. And I never ever thought that I would, a week into having Penny at our house, I never thought I was going to want Penny to stay. I was like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare the entire time. And then she won me over. JC is here. First of all, JC, hello. Do you ever soak your paper and not stretch? I was watching a video where the artist was saying it's made the shipment sizing come off the sheets. Paper then works better, doesn't apply to pads or blocks. Do I ever soak my paper and not stretch? I don't. I don't stretch my paper. I don't soak my paper. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. The reason is I've never found that I work my paper wet enough that I really have to do that. When I first started painting watercolors, I did a lot wetter. But as I've kind of defined and refined my style, I have found that I don't use as much water as others do. And as a result, I just don't feel the need to wet my paper quite as much. I don't feel the need to stretch my paper. For me, if it's 140-pound paper, that's usually quite good for me. And if I need it to be, if I need my paper to be a little stronger than that, if I'm afraid it's going to warp or buckle too much, and this one is starting to warp a little bit, and I'm going to talk about that in a second because it just started popping up here, then I would, rather than mess with the paper and try to stretch it or do something like that, I would just move up to the next size. So if I was using 140, I would just step up and buy some 300 paper and just use it straight like that, instead of trying to mess with it and stretch it and then glue it on a piece of gator board and do all of that kind of stuff. I have the glue tape, I have gator board, or I have plywood that I could put it onto, and I have done all that stuff, and I just found it's for me, for my style, it just isn't really worth it. So to answer your question, do I ever soak my paper? I don't. Do I think it matters? I don't. Could it matter to some people? It could. I think it would depend upon how you utilize the paper. I understand that that might sound like a bit of a cop out, but art styles are so different. We all utilize the same materials in a different way, and for me, I've never noticed the need to do it. Okay, starting to get some color on her in a couple of different areas here. Let's get her ear way up here. And get some dark color up here on her ear, and I'm just gonna work around the page and add some color here and there. And you can see me jump around a little bit. JC, great question though. I will say, if you want to see somebody who does a great job of stretching paper, because she does it all the time, and again, I actually watched her do it and did what I have tried based upon what she has done, is Louise Damasi. I think it's how you say her last name. I don't know if she's Australian or New Zealand. Watercolor artist, fantastic artist, really funny. She does things much wetter than I do, and she stretches all of her paper before she uses it, because she doesn't want it to warp or buckle when she does it. Now this paper, if I hold this up, you can just see, probably you can see on the back. That's a better way to do it. There you go. You can see right here, and there's a little warp coming in here. There's a little buckle in here. This is not a normal paper that I would use, and I didn't know how this would react. It does feel a little thinner than some of the other paper I use, but if I'm going to use a high quality paper, I'm probably going to use Arches, 140 pound paper, and Arches is awfully tough paper, and I've never ever had an issue with it. I love Louise Damasi. I don't think she has done much painting recently. Oh, she broke her arm. Oh, that's horrible. She does some really fantastic painting. She's like sneaky good. And sneaky funny. If you watch some of her videos, here's the tip for you. If you watch her videos, hang around to the end, because she'll oftentimes put on like bloopers at the end of her videos, and they are hysterical. She is so funny. But I hope she didn't break her arm. That'd be horrible. And I'm not saying that to say, oh, she should have broken something else. No, it's something. That's a bad way to say it. No, I hope she didn't break her arm. That'd be horrible. And she is a fantastic artist. Okay. And I've got some area in the center here. I'm going to actually get a slightly larger brush. I'm just kind of trying to work around the painting here a little bit. We are so fortunate that we have the internet connecting artists from all over the world and all levels of skill. Well, that's totally true. Right? God, the fact that you can log in and watch somebody paint, or watch somebody do anything that you have a similar interest in, or you can watch 100 people do it, is just unbelievable. growing up as a small boy in rural Ohio, I never, ever would have thought anything like this would ever be around. I say that with the complete understanding that I had a very sheltered childhood. Very sheltered childhood. So I wouldn't have known anything anyways. I wouldn't have known anything. You could have told me it rains peanut butter growing up and I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known it didn't. So somebody let me know if it does rain peanut butter. I still haven't figured that one out. All right, and this is going to look a little funny here where her arm comes down over the side, but I think we're going to make that work. We'll just make that work somehow. We'll just make that work. All right, I'm not worried about this being exactly right. I just want it to be close to right. Because we've still got a lot of shading to go here. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but if we can get some general color on here somehow. Let's see, this kind of probably just goes back. Let's connect these two areas here. That's probably a good thing to do. Andy Everson would like that if we connect those two areas. Okay, there we've got some basic Penny color on here. Oh, we got the whole side of her face to do. Holy cow. Come on, Penny. What are we doing here? Let's see. My brushes are going all over the place. Hold on one second. I need to move my paintbrushes. Put those up there. Were you into art as a child? When and what sparked your interest? Great question. I wish I had a great answer for you. No, I always think that's a funny question, but it's not a funny question, and it has a weird answer to it. Okay, so growing up in my town, I grew up in a very rural area, very small town, and in small towns, everybody knows everybody, right? We just do. Everybody knows everybody. Well, my mother knew everybody in town. Everybody in town kind of was afraid of my mother because she's sometimes hard to get along with. It's okay, Mom. I still love you, Mom. It's okay. It's all right. So she knew my art teacher, and I'm not exactly sure how she knew my art teacher growing up. My art teacher was Mrs. Mudrak. And I always feel as though I had a little extra leniency in my art classes to do what I wanted to do. And I don't think I necessarily got graded easier on anything, but I think she gave me a little bit more leeway to explore and do a few things. So my early history with art was just that. I would do whatever I wanted to in art class, and I did okay, but I didn't really have a big interest in doing anything in art. I really didn't. And I graduated high school, went off to college, still didn't have any interest in doing anything in art. Just was like, whatever. Graduated, went to graduate school, no interest in doing anything. Let's see, I'm trying to see. Penny, come on. Oh, I did this wrong. That's all right. We'll get this right. No interest in doing a whole lot until one day I was I guess I had just graduated from graduate school with my degree in computer science, working at that university at that point in time, and would get home and I'm just completely burned out, much like many computer people. If you're a computer person and you're on a computer all day, the first thing you do when you get home is you get on your computer. And so I would get on my computer, and at some point I was like, oh my God, I'll get home, my eyes are so crazy, I can't focus, I feel all anxious all the time. I need to do something to maybe get off of this computer a little bit. But I didn't have any idea what I was going to do. No clue what I was going to do. So this is 10 years past any last art class I ever would have taken. I went over, because I worked at a university, I went over to the art department and I went, hey, look, do you have any art supplies, something I could do? I can't draw real well, but do you have anything I can do to get some really nice color on a piece of paper and I can have some fun with it? And the guy was like, yeah, I got exactly what you need. I'm like, cool. What do you got? And he sold me, I think I brought them out last week or 2 weeks ago when I brought out all my brushes. I bought some Winsor & Newton University brushes, a pad of paper. I think it was Strathmore paper, and it was probably Reeves watercolor paper or Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolor paper, or watercolors. And I went home and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. What am I supposed to do with this? And I would just sit down and I would do little paintings. And my paintings were tiny, right? And when I say they were tiny, they were small. Right? My paintings would be an inch or 2 inches by 2 inches or something like that. I'm, really getting down in there, trying to see what I can do. How am I going to paint this? How am I going to make it look good? What am I going to do with it? And I filled up books worth of that. And I never really let anybody see it. I just kind of did my thing when I got home, and that was it. Come on, Dory. Well, years later, I met the woman who became my wife, and she actually went to art school to be an artist and has done some fantastic art pieces. She's not necessarily a painter, though she could, and she has done quite a bit of painting, but that's not really what her emphasis is. And I don't know if I had forgotten to put my stuff away and she found it, or, she saw it, or if she just saw it and said, what's this? And I kind of went, oh, this is my watercolor book, and this is what I do, and this is why I do it and everything. And she was like, oh my God, some of these are really good. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You're just saying that because we're dating, or, whatever. She's like, no. Some of these are actually pretty good. You should pursue this a little bit. And I kind of went, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, that went on for 2 years, 3 years. And my wife and I went to an art in the park, right? Art in the park here in the town we live in, art in the park. And I'm walking through being the braggadocious guy. I'm like, I could do, you see the watercolor exhibits. I could do that. Oh, this one doesn't look so tough. And she kind of hemmed and hawed and went, listen, I'm tired of hearing you say you could or you could or you could. Either put up or shut up. Do it or be quiet about it. I'm tired of hearing about it. And I kind of went, okay. And so then I went from painting things that were this big to painting things that were this big to painting things that are this big. And at each step of the way, I think I just got a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. I used to do it all the time, everywhere. I would not eat lunch. Lots of times I didn't eat lunch. I would just walk out, sit down on a park bench, pull out my paints and start painting instead of eating lunch. And that's how I would spend my lunch hour. I was doing a little painting. I watched a bazillion YouTube videos thinking, well, this is going to help me, first of all, understand painting. And then second of all, it's going to, make me a better artist. Well, I think it did help me understand paint, paper, brushes, technique, some of those things, but it didn't do anything to make me a better artist. That I had to figure out on my own. And just through trial and error and, effort of trying to understand what my eye sees and how things roll off the brush when I use them, I developed my style of painting. And I think, I like my style. It's nothing of mine's ever going to hang in the Louvre or anything like that. But I've got, my paintings have a certain life of their own, and a lot of people really like them, and I enjoy painting them. And so that's my art journey. I never really had anything growing up that had to deal with art. I did watch Bob Ross growing up. I was allowed to watch an hour of TV a day while my parents were home. And they normally didn't get home until, like 5 or 6 or something like that. But if I got home early from school, I could turn the TV on and watch Bob Ross. It didn't count towards my hour. I could watch something. Cool. So I watched an hour's worth of Bob Ross, or half an hour, I guess the shows are half an hour worth of Bob Ross. And nobody was the wiser. So I did, I guess I will say, I took quite a bit of inspiration from Bob, but that was about it. Let's see. Sudike says, when I worked for Waste Management back in the mid-1990s, I developed training that we broadcasted live using the company's satellite system. Crazy stuff. Okay, cool. Natalie says, Louise is in Australia, and yes, she broke her wrist in several places out in a bike accident in January. Yikes. And Kenya said, you started out with small paintings too. I think it's easy to start out with small paintings. I started out with small. I can tell you exactly why I started out with small. I started out with small because I wanted to be able to set things up quickly. I wanted to be able to clean things up quickly. And I wanted to be able to, do whatever I wanted to do without making a giant mess. If it's oil paintings, it's a mess. And it's going to sit around, and you got to do other stuff to it. If it's a watercolor painting, I can open up a notebook, quickly sketch something, pull out my paints, some water. I'm painting in 3 minutes. When I'm done, I go like this. The painting dries. Close the book. Close my palette. Throw the paints back in the closet. Throw the paper towel that I use to, wipe my brush on away, and I'm done. And it takes nothing. That's one of the big advantages to me that watercolors has over everything else is you set it up quickly, you take it down quickly. It doesn't take, the barrier to entry is low. You can get some inexpensive watercolors that still work really well. You can get some inexpensive brushes that still work very well. And you're immediately using one of the coolest art mediums that are out there. And you're off and you're running, and it's all fantastic. Okay, so JC, did that answer your question? Oh, I'm sorry, Beverly. Beverly, did that answer your question? Who sparked my interest? I guess maybe it's something I didn't really answer. There wasn't really any interest to be sparked other than the fact that I wanted to maybe de-digitalize my life a little bit. I realized that so many people in the tech industry end up with giant glasses, this thick, and you sit in front of a screen for 8 hours a day, and you end up not with the nicest attitude at the end of the day. You're frustrated because things aren't working the way you want them to. The customers you're working with are frustrated because they aren't working the way they want them to. It's just, I don't know. It was just, I just noticed that wasn't where I wanted to go. And so I made the choice to make that change. And I hope, right? I'm going to say, I hope, that was a good change for me. I think it was, but I guess I guess there's some room for interpretation out there still. Okay. And I put on this light layer of black here, and I'm hoping this wasn't too much. We got a couple of layers in there. It did. Beverly says it did. Okay, cool. Good. Great question. Keep them coming. I'm happy to talk about anything, provided you give me 1 second to get a sip of water. Okay. Now I'm whoop, it just fell over. Now I'm back and happy to talk about anything. Dwayne says, watercolor painting and fishing are great getaways. I couldn't agree more. JC, I turned off the TV permanently in 2005, and it's still one of the best things I ever did for myself. There you go. I watch about an hour of TV a day. Yeah, voice is definitely a good change. Where'd my brushes go? I do a lot of podcasting and a lot of audiobooks at this point in my life. I watch a couple of TV shows, right? I'm not ashamed to say I watch the old Top Gear, the British Top Gear. I watch the Grand Tour. I think those three guys, James, Richard, and Jeremy, are hysterical together. I think I've watched every Top Gear episode about 20 times since it came out in 2002. Well, there's not a whole lot. I'll watch a football game or something like that. Other than that, I always have a pair of headphones around. I think I've listened to every book in my public library and then some. I have about 30 or 40 different podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis. I listen to talk radio. I don't know, it's so fun. It stimulates your mind so much, the spoken word rather than the visual representation of thing, and I very much enjoy that more than watching a regular TV show. So that's not to say from time to time I don't watch any TV or anything, because I do. But as far as on a regular basis, I haven't really gone back to watching too much. I'll watch a race, a NASCAR race, a Formula One race, IndyCar, something like that. But as far as like network TV shows or anything, not really. Michelle Mills is here. Hello, Michelle. Sudike says, JC, the last time I turned on my TV was when my sister came to visit 2 years ago. Wow. He pretty much gave it up in 2016. Couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. Dwayne says, love audiobooks too. Yes. When I go out, Dwayne, when I go out fishing, I always have a couple of audiobooks queued up. I just downloaded another book today. If anybody wants to keep track at home, it's by James Corey, who oh God, what's the name of it? What's the name of the series now? Seal Bonds Exit or whatever is what I'm watching. The Amazon made the series The Expanse out of it, and it probably is one of the best sci-fi shows on TV of all time. It's pretty good. I think maybe it is just called The Expanse, even the book. But it's fun to find new authors and to listen to not only how they write, but what they write and how they put stories together and whatnot. It's fantastic. It's so much fun. I get lost in the books, and on the weekends, instead of sitting down and just turning it on TV and mindlessly watching something, I will lay down on the bed and put my headphones on, or I'll go out in the backyard, sit down with the chickens and just listen to a book for a long, long time. It's absolutely fantastic. Tells you a little bit about a little bit about my life. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing to admit to there. But that's what I do. Yeah, and like I said, I very much enjoy it. So I do feel like I really need to get back to doing more painting than I have done recently, but that may be a slightly different story. Something a little slightly different to topic to talk about. Beverly says, oil painting is the medium I typically work in, but after finding you, I wanted to get back into watercolors. I did a recent research, setting up and working from my recliner will be much easier with watercolors. There you go. See, another reason why watercolors is better. There's absolutely nothing wrong with oil painting. There isn't. Oils are a fantastic medium. But, and you got to put that big but out there, because they are more difficult to set up. They are more difficult to deal with. There's just more that comes with them. On the flip side, they are more permanent. Right? Water media is a transient medium for certain. But like I said, I'm never going to have anything in the Louvre. I'll never have anything in the Smithsonian, and that's okay. I don't paint anything thinking I'm going to have anything there. I paint things thinking I'm going to have a good time while I'm painting it. And with any luck, somebody's going to like what I paint, and off I go. And if I enjoy that process a little bit more, I'm betting people are going to enjoy the process with me a little bit more, and I bet they're going to enjoy what I paint a little bit more. I think I'm going to do a little bit better job of the painting if I have that extra enjoyment that comes along with it. So that's kind of how I think of it. And I'm trying to look up. I have, you guys are seeing Penny's picture on over here. I have Penny's picture enlarged over there on my screen. So I'm just kind of looking up to see what she looks like and where we have some darker areas. And we'll just dab a little bit of this dark in here and there. And we'll go with it. And if it turns out like our picture, fantastic. If it doesn't turn out like our picture, well, you know what? We're still going to make Penny look really good, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be totally fine. Penny won't mind. She was funny like that. She'll go with it a little bit if it's a little bit off, I would think. I can't say enough of, I'm not advocating that everybody go out and adopt a pet, or I'm not saying, everybody needs to support a shelter or whatnot. That's a personal thing that everybody has to decide to do if they want to. And if they don't, that's great. If they do, that's great too. But I just think there was some kind of providence that this poor cat who had been in this shelter for her entire life found her way to, I'm gonna say me, but my entire family found her way to us, and got to spend really what is the declining time of her life with us. And I'm hoping, and the way I see it, it seems as though she was finally able to have some real fun in her life and enjoy those last few years that she was on this earth. And as much as it pains me that she's no longer with us, because she really did turn out to be a fantastic pet, or companion, or really those don't portray what she was, right? Really what we should be saying is member of the family, because that's really what she was. She became by her personality alone and her willingness to do whatever with us. She really did become a member of our family, and all of us fell in love with her. And so I think that it was providence in some way, shape, or form that shelter had held onto her for all of those years, and she was finally able to find her home and people who loved her and accepted her, like I said, for those last few years. And I'm gonna shut up before I start to cry. Let's see. The channel is Neural Surfer Audiobooks. Wait. Dwayne, a channel came up in my YouTube feed of audio recordings, stories by M. Somerset Maugham. Wonderful to listen to. Nice chilling with the chicken. Oh, Artie Sketchbooks is here. Well, first of all, welcome. Thank you for contributing and listening to me ramble on about Penny and about all the stories I tell. Dwayne says Suzuki, I'll check it out. That's W. Somerset. Dwayne, the channel is Neural Surfer Audiobooks. There you go. Okay, so that to me puts that string of the conversation in text. Okay, Dwayne, what's really sad is that the bookstores pretty much don't stock his books. Interesting. I've read or listened to, and actually I read a couple of authors like that, and I was like, this guy wrote some, and I don't even remember who he was at this point in time. It was years and years ago. I found an author that I thought was genuinely witty, wrote in a light-hearted style, witty, interesting. His story moved along quickly, and I couldn't find him in my county library. I couldn't find him in the next county library over. And I'm not even sure I found him on Amazon, to tell you the truth, but I had one of his books, and then I loaned it out and never got it back. But there seem to be a number of authors like that are really kind of funny and interesting, and they write well, and then for some reason they fall by the wayside, and people just don't attach to their writings, and that's weird to me. Okay, I'm just thinking, right, that's the picture we have to go on, but can I change it a little bit, right? Maybe that sun doesn't come all the way down onto Penny, so, maybe she's got a little foot there or something that's going to cover a little bit of line here. Just connect these two areas a little bit more. And I'm going to continue to push some of this color back just a little bit. And I can do this because it's wet. You guys have seen me do this before. As long as that color has some wetness to it, some dampness to it, you have a lot of control over it. You can do anything you want to with it. Almost anything you want to with it. Having damp paints really gives us a lot of control. Okay, I was gonna put some color here, but I can't do that quite yet. So look at her looking at me. So I've been talking and I've been painting, and a little bit, and all of a sudden she's starting to come to life, right? She's starting to look like a cat. Her face is starting to get some dimension on it. Ooh, we can work on the roundness here. We do need some darks on this side of her face a bit more. We've got some work to do on her ears, obviously, but she's getting there. I mean, look at the paws up here, starting to look really nice. What's happening here? Kenya, goodbye, everyone. I have to go. Sorry I can't finish watching. Kenya, that's okay. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. I'll take whatever I can get, and thank you for contributing to the stream. It's always good to see you here. I hope whatever you're doing the rest of the night, whatever's taking you away, you have a good time, you enjoy it, and then hopefully we'll see you back here next week again, or if not next week, in the very near future anyway. So have a great night, Kenya. And so some of these colors, I just put quite a bit of brown in this. It's not really black. She's going to be kind of a mix here of a warmer and a cooler color. And I think that's going to help us out a little bit, right? Because if you look at that picture of her, and I can bring it up, there's a lot of brown in the black that she has on her. It's not all black. She's a black cat, but she's not really a black cat. And so I should say, at one point in time here, we had, well, I think at one point in time we had 3 black cats living in our house and 2 black chickens living in the backyard all at the same time. None of it was planned. It just worked out that way. I wanted to let all the black cats roam around the yard at Halloween and see how many kids would come into our yard, but I kind of got outvoted on that. I thought that would have been a funny thing to do. Okay, I'm going to give me a little bit of this turquoise here, and give me a little bit of Payne's Gray. Come on, Payne's Gray. Let me mix those 2 colors up. To my eye, you put a little turquoise and you put a little Payne's Gray together. And if I had a sheet of paper I could show you, then you get something that's kind of a metallic color. This is this is the back of a sheet of paper, but look, you can see that that's kind of metallic. Maybe I need to adjust that a little bit. But to me, that always has a kind of a metallic-y look to it. So I'm going to put some of that color here. Right on this little track that she's sitting on right here. And shoot, I bet you if I just changed this color a little bit and put this underneath all of her, everybody would probably go, oh, she's just sitting on a blanket. Probably everybody would. Oh, she's just kind of sitting on a blanket. If I do it this way, it matches our reference photo a bit more. And I don't think it's going to matter. You know she's sitting on something there. She's sitting across something. That's what cats do that all the time. They lay on things and have fun with them. There we go. Now we can see that she's kind of on something, and it'll make this part of her arm look more proper. Sadiq says, everybody please hit the like button. Thank you, Sadiq. I forget that all the time. If you would, anybody who's here, I don't know how many people we got. We still got about a dozen people. If you'd be so kind as to hit the like button, it would really help me out, boost me up in the ratings a little bit for YouTube. I greatly appreciate that. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. Sit back, enjoy the show, and and get involved if you like. Like I said, I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy having everybody here, and I want to make this stream what you guys want it to be. And sometimes that involves answering questions from you all, not just me talking on and on and on about whatever I want to. So please throw some questions out there. Sadiq says, I watched a video of a woman who demonstrated how to darken colors using neutral tint instead of using colors on opposite sides of the color wheel. Interesting. So I have questions. And my first question is, yeah, you can do it. Where's my color wheel? Do I have my color wheel here? Can I demonstrate this? Oh, where's my color wheel? So, all you're doing, right? Here's my theory. Sorry, Penny, I'm going to move you for a second here. You're starting to look really good, though. Here's my theory on that. There's my color wheel. Okay? I've got yellow here. I've got blue here. I've got red here. All right. Oh, brother, did I start something? You did. No, not a big deal. And then you have neutral tint, in theory, that sits here. Right? So all you're doing, if you're using a complementary color, right? I'm not gonna bother to mix any. I'm just gonna pull some off. Right? Orange, and where's a purple I can throw in here. Okay, these aren't the brightest colors, and this isn't the best circle in anything. Not a big deal. All you want to do if you darken colors is use the complement, right? Right. If you're using a purple, you use a yellow. If you're using a yellow, use a purple. If you're using a green, use a red or green. Well, that's great, because all of these, in theory, go right through the center of that wheel, exactly where neutral tint should sit. That's all. The only issue with it that I have is the more color you put, the more pigment you put on something, the more you dull the color. So if you ever go to Handprint, the website, and you see their color wheel, they have a color wheel like this and colors in and out of it. They don't just sit on the wheel. It has to do with the intensity of the color, right? So a phthalo would be outside the ring, and a cobalt would be inside the ring, because a phthalo has a much stronger color. And if you mix with the opposite color, then because you might be doing a 2-color mixture here, and you're mixing it with a 1-pigment mixture here, you get a 3 and you pull it down. This neutral tint is probably at least 3 colors in its own, so you dull it a little faster than if you would use something from the other side of the wheel. That's my only problem with it. But yeah, you can do it. And that's it. I'll step off my soapbox now. I won't say anything else. Let's see. JC says, Anna Bucchiarelli does a lot of neutral tint to create the deep shadow in flowers and animals she paints. She's quite detailed in her paintings. I haven't been able to repeat how she does it. Is she using only the neutral tint as the shadowing or the deep colors, or is she using it in conjunction with the other colors? I don't know the answer to that. I'm genuinely asking that question. But you can use, because neutral tint is a nice purpley color. It's a neutral color, right? All a shadow is, in reality, is the lack of a highlight. That's all it really is. It's the lack of some light on your painting. So all you have to do is dull that area down. You can do that with a neutral. You just put the neutral on and it pushes everything back that little bit. So I totally get. I use neutrals for shadows too. I don't know that I use them just as that color, but if I do a drop shadow or something, I always start with a neutral tint. She mixes neutral tint with the base color of the area. Okay, so she wants to have the tint, in addition to what she's glazing over, she wants to have the tint of it, plus that little bit of purple that's going to pull that color to the center of the color wheel there. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Let's see. I'm going to try to just continue to give Penny some color here. I'm going to try to monitor the amount of moisture that's on my brush. I want this color to blend in pretty smoothly, pretty evenly. And we're not done with Penny here, right? We got a long way to go to bring Penny to life. Well, I would say we got a long way. We got a ways to go anyways. Well, she is looking good. She is looking good, and we're going to continue to add to her here. Let's see, Susie Moon is here. Hello, Susie. Hi, all. I saw the neutral tint video, too. The main point was it expands your palette. By adding the neutral tint to the paint you already have in your palette. Yeah. Dwayne says, Penny's looking like $1 million. Thank you, Dwayne. My question is it expanding your palette because it's really expanding your palette, or is it expanding your palette because you're using a color that you normally don't use? Most people don't keep neutral tint on their palette. That would be my only question about that statement. And if she's saying it's expanding your palette, your palette because you're adding a color to it and you're experimenting with a color that you don't normally use, then yeah, I think she's exactly right. If that's not the reason, then I might need a little additional explanation myself. Okay. Some darker shadows here for Penny right along the side of her mouth here. I'm gonna kind of go like that, and I always keep a little paper towel here, and I dab this off. I want to make sure that I feel like I've got the right amount of water on my brush. So when you see me reach up like this, I'm typically reaching up to dab my brush to get some water off of my brush. For me, and I guess this goes back, Beverly, to your question. I think your question. It's vitally important for me to try to maintain, right, and I'm going to use the air quotes on this, where's my camera? The right amount of moisture on my brush. What is the right amount of moisture? The right amount of moisture is whatever I feel it needs. And now I'll explain that, because it's a wonkadoodle statement. I just put some paint on here, right on her, below her ear, on her, I guess that's her forehead, right? I don't want to go back on top of that with more water than I just put there. So I want to make sure that the moisture value in my brush is less than the water is there. So I need to dab it off. As that dries, this needs to dry out too. I can't have the same amount of water on this, even though I might need to go and rinse it in my rinse water and then dab it back on here and then go back to my page. I need to make sure that the moisture level in here on my bristles of my brush are less than what are on the whatever it is I'm painting. And so I'm constantly, when you see me reach up here, and in fact I could pull this down here so you can see it, I'm constantly tapping my brush on there until I feel like I've got it right, and then I can come back in and get the right amount of water on here. And you can tell me, well, that's a silly thing, or yeah, I know you're trying to do that. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. Yeah, we can talk about that. I'm okay to have that discussion, but that's why I'm doing it. So when you see me dab my brush off a lot, it's because I feel like I need to dab it off because I'm trying to get the right moisture content on there. When painting anything with eyes, do you typically paint them last? I do. I'll usually get to about where I'm at right now, something 3/4 of the way, and then I'll start to put the color on. But the eyes for me finish way towards the end. They might not be the last thing I finish, but they finish way towards the end. Yeah. So Los the pondfish, you've seen him on here a couple of times. Los, I don't know if you're here tonight. If you are, say hi. He's been chugging along in his watercolor journey, doing some really great paintings. But he and I had a discussion with him one night, and Dwayne, I'm not sure you were there or not, but he likes to paint his eyes first or very early on. And I was like, well, that's an interesting way to do it because I don't do it, but he feels, and I don't want to completely speak for him, but what I got out of the conversation was that he feels it's important enough to keep those eyes going so you understand the painting, and then if you need to paint over them and layer upon the eyes, you can then build up as you're going along with the painting. And hopefully as you're building that up as you go along, you're going to see the life come out of those eyes. And I kind of take the opposite approach, is if I paint the eyes, that's how you do it. Okay. If I paint the eyes early on, I feel like I get the personality out of the animal from the eyes, and I don't want that to infect how I paint the rest of whatever it is I paint. Then when I go back, and then in my style or my feeling is that then the rest of the animal dictates what those eyes are going to be rather than the other way around. And I don't know if any of that really matters or not. But to me, that's kind of how I feel is those eyes should be the last thing, and they're going to make that animal come to life right at the end rather than those eyes provide the life all the way through, and in not only just the life but the character and the feeling and all of that other stuff that go along with eyes. I want those to be a part of the end and a part of, if you want to say, the surprise, the joy of the ending of the painting, rather than a part of the journey of the painting. And now I'm out of focus. Come on. There we go. So I got to tell you, and this will be a surprise to absolutely nobody here. I'm very much enjoying this painting, and I'm very much enjoying the conversation. I worked awfully long yesterday, and then I get up early in the morning and go to work. I'm up at 5 and I'm out the door by 6. And this morning I had 7 hours of meetings that I was able to sit through. And then I had to take, my youngest to singing lessons as soon as I got home, and I didn't get a lunch at work today because I was busy, whatnot. Anyways, was tired when I got home, and so far I am thoroughly enjoying the painting. I'm thoroughly enjoying the conversation. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for, and I say this at the end of every video because it's absolutely true, but I want to say thank you for making this a great experience for me. And I hope it's turning out to be a really great experience for you too. Yova says, what I've seen about neutral tint made me think of it as a utility color. So I added neutral tint, buff titanium, and jaune brilliant. That's a French thing. I'm not exactly sure how you say it. I have some of that in my Holbein paint set to my palette, but haven't really used any of them. Yeah, okay. Michelle says, looking great, but gonna try sleep. It's 4:20 a.m. Oh, my Lord. And not slept 3 days again. Oish. Michelle, please go get some sleep. Hopefully you'll get some sleep. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for joining in the conversation. I hope you do. I hope you are able to get some sleep. I know what it's like to be up for a long, long time. So please, please go and get some good sleep. Yeah. Okay. Now I am going to attempt to paint a little bit of Penny's eyes here, and I would normally paint them just yellow as a base coat, but I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow ochre into my cold yellow. Penny's eyes weren't really yellow, but they weren't gold, I wouldn't say either. And they were offset a little bit. She had problems with her eyes. They didn't quite close right. She had lots of problems, but you know what? She didn't seem to let any of that bother her whatsoever. I should have done this earlier. This is like this is like therapy for having lost having lost Penny. I should have done this sooner. There we go. So now, if we look, those little bits of yellow there are starting to put some extra personality in the painting. And like I said, I like that personality to pop right at the end rather than kind of all the way through. Okay, I'm looking at this, and there's still a little bit of work. We got some work to do here on her on her nose. I got a little bit of work to do up here, but I want to focus a little bit on her ears, and I'm thinking about how I want to do this. And if you guys want to see me do it one way, that's cool. I'm prepared to do this one or the other or both ways. I've prepped, and I've gotten a colored pencil. Whoa, no, this is a graphite pencil, but I do have a colored pencil. I thought it felt funny. I have a colored pencil, and I have a graphite pencil, and I was thinking about doing the hairs in the ears with one of these, or I could do some of them in watercolor, or a little bit of both. You guys want to see some colored pencil action, or do you care? Do you just want to see the end result? Because to me, I struggle oftentimes with looking to see where there's some extra color in here. I struggle sometimes with lining things, right? Whether I do or not, whether I do a good job with it or not, I feel as though I struggle a little bit with lining. And sometimes I don't want to do it with, sometimes I want to see if I can do it with a paintbrush, and sometimes I just want to go, I don't want to do a paintbrush because I feel like I'm going to screw it up, and I want to grab a colored pencil or something, a watercolor pencil, something like that. So if you guys have a burning desire to see a watercolor pencil or something, I haven't done a whole lot of that recently. I'm willing to entertain that. Or if you just want to go, you know what, whatever you think is best, we'll go with that too. I'll give it a little bit of that blue in here. I'm trying to get a little bit of dark around her ears here, so when we draw those lines on there, it's not just a line on there. I hope you can see. Wow, they're quite a bit different. Those two ears where I just put the color on, but if I put it back like that, it doesn't seem like it's all that much. It will look better when we get some some ear hair on there. Sorry, Penny, ear hair. I know it's not ladylike. JC says, go color pencil. So you guys voting for color pencil. JC says, doing a little watercolor sketch of a farm landscape that has 2 cows in it. Working out the scene and colors. One of the cows looks like a brown rhino at this point. JC, I'm laughing with you, not at you. I've had plenty of drawings and paintings that have gone sideways. Thankfully, I don't have quite as many as I used to. But I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I don't know that I've had any rhinos before, but I've had some mystery animals. Okay, so would have been a much better use on that cow. Maybe it is a rhino. You know, maybe it's a zoo in, I don't know, Mozambique. I don't know, where do they have rhinos? Zimbabwe? Maybe it's a farm in Zimbabwe somewhere, and they just happen to have rhinos. You never know. I think I'm going to add a little bit more color down here. That's actually still a little bit wet. I'm going to add a little bit more color down here. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to make sure I don't use the pencil. So that's the pencil. So here's my colored pencil. Before I do that, let's do a little test. Wait, where's my other sheet? Here it is. Why my brushes are rolling off tonight. Here's my other sheet where I have the colors. So let's just see if this black matches at all the black that I'm using. Because if it doesn't, somewhere, I also have a brown that I could use, which is a dark brown, you can see there. Well, my black seems to be okay. You see how it matches those colors. If I could get it in range for you to see, that's not too bad. It's a little dark in a couple of areas, but we can make that work. So I'm not really good at hair. I've said this from day one. Hair is not a thing I excel at. But what I can do is put on a couple of areas where there might be some hair, right? Just the way I do this with feathers, I do kind of the same thing with hair. And if we get a little too black right at the edge, you know what we can do? We'll just add a little extra paint to that. We'll pull that out ever so slightly. Come on. And we'll make those hairs fit right in there just like they're supposed to. There we go. Now we have some hair coming off of there. And it looks like it's supposed to. Right? So are the ears dry? So we've got some ears here. So I'm pretty sure, boy, that's not even dark enough. Look at that. If I put a few lines on there like that, it looks like ear hair. Just about what it's supposed to look like. See? There we go. Just about right. I really thought this would be a bit darker on here, though. I really did. And if we need to... The good thing about it is if you need to extend this inside... how do I explain this? if I've got some hair that comes outside our painting and I need to extend it inside, you just add a little hair inside there and pull it out. And the viewer looking at the painting doesn't necessarily notice that when you look at it with your eyes, especially if you look at it from a couple of feet away. You just see that the outside edge has some hair on it. That's all you care about. That's all your eye picks up. So to me, we've done that part right. We've got some hair in the ears. Looks like it's supposed to. Couple of bits of hair coming off back here. You know, maybe we'll even use this brown one back here where these hairs are in the light. Right, just a couple here and there. Don't need a lot. Just something to show that there's a hair there. Right, I don't want to break up that straight line. That's all I'm trying to do. That's it. Beverly says, do you have a favorite subject you prefer to paint, or a least favorite? I do. Well, I have a favorite topic area. I love to paint birds. Birds are by far my favorite. My least favorite, sorry Penny, anything with fur. I don't like painting fur. But I'm willing to take a challenge and try it out every time, especially in something like this. And so if I can get Penny looking like Penny in some way, shape, or form, I feel like I've won. I feel like she has won. I feel like I've done a good job with her. I like painting feathers. Feathers to me are interesting. I don't necessarily paint the feathers themselves. You've probably seen I do a lot of negative painting of feathers, and in some way, shape, or form, it seems to work to give just enough look to things that it doesn't look, I'm going to use this in quote, air quotes again, it doesn't look wrong. It looks like it's supposed to look, or as a feather would look. You don't think anything about it. You just go, oh, feather, done. And that's it. She looks like she's got this dour look on her face. Penny, come on, Penny. Can't have you looking like that. I know this isn't exactly right, but I'm gonna take a little bit of that dourness away. We're gonna cover that up a little bit. She's gonna be fine. She's gonna be just fine. I like painting food. Food is fun to paint. It's interesting to me. A lot of different textures, a lot of different shading, a lot of different nooks and crannies in there to paint. Let's see. Dwayne said, I missed something. Dwayne said, JC, I've driven by a farm and taken many photos of cows to practice, but I have not painted any yet. Here, and JC says it's going to take some time to practice. It'll take some time. You both will get it. Siddiqui says, Susie, have you tried the Derwent Inktense pencils? If so, what do you think of them? I have not. Siddiqui says, I have the Inktense blocks. Don't use them much either. They're very intense colors. I think the light fastness is in question. Oh, it does not matter. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Beverly, did I answer your question? I think I answered your question. I think I got it in there. I'm not the biggest fan of landscapes. I know it's a traditional watercolor thing to paint. I just don't feel I have a good handle on them a lot of the time, and this just ran out of her eye, and I don't want it to. But I do paint quite a lot of landscapes, and I'll get them right sometimes. I think for me, the bigger issue is not... The bigger issue is with landscapes, oftentimes there's so much going on in them that it's hard to get everything the way I want it to look. All right, I recently painted a landscape, put a little trail up by me. I think the hillside, the hillside that went up, some rocks on the path, some weeds on the side, and a tree or two. And I think I really did a great job with everything except for the tree. I absolutely hated the tree. I couldn't stand it. And I'll put this down as my own failing, because I can't get that tree right. It makes me not want to do a whole lot more trees. It's frustrating. All right, come on, Penny. Let's get some darker shadows in on you here. How far out do we have to go? Let's bring this down here. Let's connect some of these shadow areas. Right, this needs to connect down here. And this can easily come right up around your eye to here. And these are the little areas, these are the little details that you get to the end of a painting and you go, are these ones really important? Do I really need to do these? Will these help or hurt this painting? And oftentimes I feel these little things like this, where's this shadow going to go? I don't know. These are what are going to help you out the most. All of this other coloring in here, great. But you get to the end here and you're defining right around her eye. Cool. We need that. We really need that. That's going to help set the tone for the shape of everything that's left. This goes right over her eye. Right over the eye that way. Really dark down the side to her nose. Everything else, I think, over here is pretty good. It's a little bit here and a little bit there to work on. But very important. And you'll see me continuing to go over here to the paper, and for this brush it's even more important than on that large brush. This brush, so small, these bristles dry incredibly quickly. Right? I put a little color on, and before I know it, all the moisture is out of these bristles. So I need to be super careful about how this color goes on. And I'm going to give her a little bit of more color right up here through her head. I think we need a little bit of something up here. Penny, we're going to make you look beautiful. Yeah. I like that. And that can connect those two shadows that way, right across the bridge of her nose here. All right. That's not to say the rest of everything we did doesn't matter, because it does. But when you can get some of these last little details on, and really, especially if you're doing, a pet portrait for somebody, something like that, and you want to, you're like me, you don't want to do the exact copy of it, but you want to give something that's pretty close, because that's what they're expecting. Then those little details like that, you're really going to go, oh, I kind of get it now. Because look at that light spot. Whoop, if I could point to it. Look above her eye on the reference photo. There's a light spot. And look above that eye. There's a light spot up there. And we've just kind of put those on. Now there is also a bit of a darker bit coming down from her ear here. Maybe down like that. So let's get that on there. That's going to help. It's going to help you out, Penny. Okay. Wow. When I just looked up, we've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes already. It seems like 25. I mean, really. It seems like about 25 minutes we've been doing this. This does not seem like an hour and 40 minutes. We just got started. I'm going to have to do these with some paint. That's dark on dark. I want to break this line up a little bit. I need the smaller brush. But we got to get these last few little lines on here, and this is going to be great. Landscapes and urban, Beverly, landscapes and urban things are your least favorite. See, I like urban landscapes. Like if I'm doing a building or something like that, I think that's fine. I don't know why I would say that. I don't know why I think those are fine. I don't have quite the problem with those that I have with other stuff. That's funny. Weird. I just don't think they're as difficult to do as other things. That's weird. Why would I feel that way? That I don't know. Okay, I'm giving a couple of hairs here on the side. Not enough. Look, all of a sudden, it just softens that edge that little bit. Oh, look at her face. Oh, Penny. Penny. She's so funny. She'd come bounding. She was not a small cat. When we got her, I think she was probably, I don't know, 14 inches tall. I want to say something like that. You know, not small. She's not a giant cat by any stretch, but not small. But she hardly weighed anything. She just didn't eat a whole lot. Oh, there we go. Her eyes give her a little bit of... I think your eyes look a little weird, Penny. Your eyes always did look a little weird, but they look a little more weird. I don't want your eyes to look that weird. Hold on a minute. This is where my eyes are a little weird. My eyes are terrible. I'm trying to paint her eyes when my eyes are bad. She was probably, I don't know, 5 pounds, 6 pounds. She didn't weigh much. And the time that she was with us, she really put on some weight. She probably doubled the amount of weight that she weighed when she was with us. And not because she didn't do anything, because she jumped around and ran around and did everything that normal cats would do, because she was fabulous, but because I think she felt comfortable enough and was at home enough that she felt it was good enough to eat whatever we were feeding her. We fed her a lot of really great food. So, oh, Penny, I miss Penny. I miss Miss Penny. So I guess we really should call this Michael's therapy session, shouldn't we? JC says, Derwent Inkten's pencils have fabulous vibrancy. Light fastness is questionable. Yeah. I haven't done a test of myself or seen one on YouTube for that. I've not either. Maybe I have. I don't know. If I have, it hasn't been recently. Okay. I don't know. Penny, you're still looking a little frumpy here, Penny. Let's see if we can't take away a little bit of your frown here at least. I think I didn't paint her mouth quite right. It looks like she's got kind of a human mouth here. And I think it's too low. I think what I painted was underneath her mouth as her mouth, but that's okay. Yeah, she's got like a little, well, that's okay. That's all right. If you don't look at it too closely, you'll never know. Susie says, Michael, I miss my cat too. She was great. She really was. And like I said, I would have no qualms about going back to that shelter, or I think we've donated money to that shelter in hopes that they can take care of a few other cats, just like they did with Penny when she was there. And again, I'm not saying everybody should do it or anything, but for us, it worked out. It was a love story that worked out. Okay, I'm going to kind of stop right there. I really messed up with her mouth, but that's okay. I think Penny would be okay with that. So I keep looking. I keep waiting for this track to go somewhere. Maybe I should put something. Let me just quickly put something down underneath her here. Let's not let the rest of her body float a little bit. Let's put something down here. Let's get some of this not ultramarine, burnt umber, a little bit of yellow ochre. The carpet is going to be kind of this tan-ish color. We'll just throw that on there real quickly, and then I think we'll call that pretty much done. Thank you for sharing, Penny, with us. Well, Yova, you're so welcome. I've talked about Penny for years and years and years. If anybody who's been with me long enough remembers when Minty Mintington and Thirsty for a Brew would come on here. I was doing streams on Twitch back in 2019, 2020, and they were on there, and just after we got Penny, and so we would talk about it, and they had just gotten a dog, and I'm trying to think what his name was. But we would share pet stories as I was painting, and we were talking away and whatnot, and it was a lot of fun. And so I've shared stories about Penny over the years, and I think this really, if I'm doing pets or I'm doing fur, I think I couldn't pick a better subject than to paint Penny on here, because like I said, she really has, over the course of 4 years that she was with us, she has meant a lot to not only myself, but the entire family, and she was fantastic. So there she is. Oh, Penny the cat. Love Penny. I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. I think this is too big of a line. That's too big of a difference. It's very stark up there, and I thought I'd be able to capture that starkness. Just not entirely sure I have, but you can see that there are shadows that come in this way, and everything goes down. Actually, I should probably throw some neutral tint in here, huh? Didn't we just talk about neutral tint? Put a shadow line in here. Did that help? I don't know if that helped. I don't think it hurt. I'm not convinced that helped. Other than we got to use neutral tint. All right, if I don't stop, I'm gonna futz with it. I'm gonna play with it all night, and at some point I will make it not any good. Susie, thank you. Dwayne, thank you. Suika says, I had a Siamese cat named Bingo. That boy had major catitude. Loved him to death. All the animals that have such attitude really turn out, well, maybe not always, but oftentimes turn out to be the best cats, or best pets, I should say. Beverly says, I commend you for not only saving a life, but one that was older and with health issues. Thank you for sharing Penny with us. You, Beverly, you're so welcome. I probably should have done something like this sooner, and we'll do something again. I've still got 2 weeks. I've got 2 more pets to paint. Not sure who I'm going to focus on next, but it's going to be fun. I hope you will all join me for that next week. It'll probably be another cat. Well, we got a choice of 2 things at this point. Let's see. We used to have Buster. Buster was our goldfish. I could paint a goldfish too. It's probably going to be a chicken or a cat, but we'll get to that next week. Until then, I want to say thank you for joining me on this Wednesday and really helping to make my Wednesday fantastic, or at least this portion of my Wednesday so fantastic. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And I hope you're able to join me back here again next week when we do this whole thing all over again. Until then, thank you and take care. Bye-bye.